you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
My message to any dad, man, first off, know that, yeah, it is a hard job, but it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything you're doing from here on out, if it didn't have purpose before, now it has purpose. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Just be a dad.
Welcome to another episode of Dad Is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And what I care about, because I use my platform as a way to spread the positive message, but as well as let people know what's going on in our world today. Again, I use my platform as a public service in talking about this issue when it comes to ICE and mass deportation. If I'm not talking about it, then I'm doing a disservice. And so what touched my heart was the story of Jennette Vizguerra. She was a vocal leader in her community, trying to help her people, her community, when it comes to undocumented workers pathway to citizenship. And it's just horrible what ICE did. She was at work, they detained her, and now the community is trying to bring her back home. I have a guest with me. She knows Jennette. She changed her life, and she's going to share her story and her story with Jennette. And she's with me today. Yasina, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out. And honestly, thank you for using your platform for all of this. I think more and more people need to be able to use social media and use the access that we do have to be able to, push the narrative that much further. So I can only hope that more people are starting to use their voice, especially with all the atrocities that we're facing right now. I think now more than ever, brown people, Black people, we all need to kind of just stand up and start taking back the power that our voices clearly have. And Jennette's case is a great example of that. Is they're trying to strip her power away from her, and it's that much more vital to be able to give her voice back, especially when she is being detained at ICE at the moment.
The next question I always ask my guests, because I'm all about mental health. How's your heart at this moment?
I believe in full transparency with everything that I do. My heart's broken. My heart hurts. My heart feels helpless. What do you do in a situation where it feels like it's beyond your control? Obviously I want to move with strength. I want to move with power. I want to move with peace, but in the back of my mind, I'm still just kind of shaken by all of it. I'm an art teacher and I've got my kids to pull me through, but at the back of my mind, there's still the idea of my friend's not doing okay. My friend is in a very scary space right now. So my heart and my head is with Jennette at the moment.
Thank you. And just tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Yesenia Hinojos. I am 31 years old. I reside in Colorado. I've been a longtime advocate. I've been doing lots of social justice stuff basically throughout my life, thanks to my history of my mother and my grandmother. There's a long lineage of immigrants that run with myself. You know, the stories of my mother and the stories of my grandmother are really what's inspired me to start advocating for those that can't advocate for themselves. My grandmother is an immigrant, and at 14 years old, she started having kids, and she had 7 of them, and my mother being one of them. And she was tasked with a very hard decision of making my mom go to the States at 15 years old without her for a better life, because she was born with that privilege of being born in the United States. So, you know, I'm 31 years old right now, and I can't imagine being 15 years old without my mother, with my, you know, older sibling raising me. And that's what led me to advocacy. You know, I wanted to do more. And that's when I met Jennette. I met her in 2019. This was during like Trump's first presidency. And I felt very helpless at the time, kind of like what a lot of us are feeling right now, unfortunately. And I wanted to see community. And that's what I did. I went out looking for it, and I found it in Jennette. I found it through her organization, Sanctuary for All. She immediately took me in and really like helped me and guided me. Because I'm an artist, I have a background in art and teaching. I was able to, you know, do what I could, and we were using political art at the time to get the message out there, to start gaining some funds, to try to, you know, do whatever we could in whatever capacity we had access to be able to pull more eyes towards us. And me being, you know, a younger advocate meant that much more. You know, I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but I knew that I was moving with purpose. And if I learned anything from Jennette and from what she's taught me, it is to move with purpose, with peace at the forefront, and with passion. You know, and that's what I'm doing here. You know, I want to get her voice out there. I want people to know who she is. You know, you got it up right now, but she is a times 100 recipient for her activism. You know, she's been doing this longer than I've been alive, and she's a focal point to the Denver community. She's a focal point to the nation, really. You know, more and more people are being exposed to what she is doing, what she's been able to do, just, you know, as an immigrant, as someone who this administration thinks is a nobody. But clearly she holds some power because they're specifically targeting her, you know. And I'm hoping that I can be a voice for her right now as she's being held in Aurora's ICE detention center.
And just talk about your personal connection with her, because I know the one thing you were talking about in your video, like you were going through phases of, you know, trying to, you know, find yourself, you know, as we all do in life. It's just, you know, we try to find our purpose and mission in life. So how
Mhm.
did Jennette help you find your purpose and your mission in life?
Yeah, Jennette came at a very pivotal point in my life. You know, she's a mother, and because of that, I really sought safety in that. And at the time, I was struggling with my own demons of, you know, addiction, of substance abuse, and I was at a very dangerous point. You know, I had mentioned it in my video on TikTok that I was very, very prepared to end my life. But thanks to Jennette, I sought safety in her. I went to the church that she was seeking sanctuary in, and I just asked her, like, as a child going to a mother, like, can you please help me? Because I don't think I'm in a safe space. I think my mental health is at an all-time low, and I need someone, because at the time I did not have my mother, you know, in the same state as me. I did not have any family. All I had was my partner at the time, and I was crashing out. You know, I needed that safety. And at the time, she was a leader, and it wasn't about, you know, who she was, who I was. It was a mother helping a child. And so I reached out. I went to the church. And what really gets me, and I might get a little emotional about this, is that she left sanctuary for me. She
Wow.
left the safety of the church for me, someone that she barely knew. You know, I was a 25-year-old that was struggling very badly, and I just needed a mom. I just needed someone to say that they cared about me, and she did. And she left that safety. She could have very well been picked up at that time, but she chose to help me, and she took me to the hospital, and she got me a mental evaluation when I couldn't do that for myself. And she sat on the phone with my mother in a different state, and she told her, "You need to come and collect your child, because from a mother to another mother, I don't think she's okay. And if you do not come and get her, I think she could be a harm to herself." And in that moment, that I knew that she was an angel, you know? She's an angel, regardless of what you believe in. There's magic in this world, and I believe that she is a very magical person, you know? So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm fighting for her, to see her safely, because she has 4 kids of her own. And I know that they are crying with the thought of what's going on with their mother in this detention center. You know, we've had reports now that she is doing well, that she is safe, but safe is subjective. You know, safe
Yeah.
is subjective, and I know that she's trying to be strong for her own kids. You know, and that's what she's done for me. You know, she inspired me to keep fighting, and now to this day, you know, years down the line, now that I'm doing much better for myself, I remember that moment when this woman who didn't have to help me, she did it. She did it out of the kindness of her heart, you know, and that's why I'm here, to do what I can, because now she needs me, and now I need to speak up.
And I think that's an important thing because it helped you find your voice. But I think one of the most, I think, beautiful thing about the whole connection is that she did it because she wasn't expecting anything in return.
Mhm.
Because in this world, people help out other people and they expect something because they did something for you and they hold this over your head. And she didn't do that. She was just there. You asked for help and she was there and she was constantly there. And that's rare to find people like that in your life. You can count probably on your hand 1 or 2 people that would actually do that. But a complete stranger, you asked for help and she was there for you consistently. You know what I mean? Like she was like a phone call away. Like
Yeah.
you knew you were safe. And
Mhm.
from the conversation we're having right now, it's like you really didn't have that growing up, that feeling of being safe, of
Mhm.
having that, that mother figure that when you knew that you're around that person, that you weren't worried about the world.
Mhm.
And I
Absolutely.
think and I think a lot of people don't realize the impact Jeanette has on the community. Even like the reports I heard that the was it the governor or mayor is trying to say to bring her back. That
Mhm.
says a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, to be living in a sanctuary state, in a sanctuary city, and to have someone that high up, you know, stick their neck out for you is a very powerful thing, you know, and he's not doing it for anyone. You know, it's not just, you know, like, oh, okay, we're going to say this because this, and that. No, this is a genuinely great and amazing person of our community. And we're witnessing an atrocity happen to someone that's been pivotal to the Denver community for years now. You know, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, Jennette is in the background. You can check the photos, you can check everything. She's been right there. You know, she's had her kids alongside with her protesting. She's making sure that they stay educated, that they are aware of what's going on in this world, and not keeping them, you know, ignorant to the very real reality that many of us as like black and brown people face from the moment that we're born. We are told, you are an other. You are an other. And because of that, we have to have these conversations when we're that much younger. So I've been having this conversation for quite some time. And I know for a fact that Jennette has been championing all of us young folks to get involved. You know, that's where it starts. It's getting the young people active and getting them to use that voice that we've all been given. She is a pivotal member to this community, and if people are not seeing it, they're going to recognize soon enough that more and more folks, they are there. You just have to listen.
Definitely. And it's the crazy thing that I think about the whole thing is that, there was a report from ICE when they were talking about the amount of people they detained, and majority of the people they detained didn't have criminal background. So this illusion that they're going after the criminals was just a rule, if I can't think of the word, but like a front just to just get rid of people that's black and brown,
Oh,
no matter
absolutely.
what.
We've seen this throughout history. History has a crazy way of repeating itself. We saw this in Nazi Germany, where people were simply doing their jobs. All right, this isn't about criminals. All right, if they were doing that, we would see something different, but we're not. We're not dumb to what's going on here. This is a very big game that's been running its course for much longer than you and I have have been around. So let's call it what it is. This is plain racism at its forefront. They are targeting who they want to for very specific reasons. They might put a few folks here or there, but there's a reason why people without criminal backgrounds are being targeted. It's not the good ones or the bad ones. No, we're seeing a complete disregard for their very own words. They are going against what they even promise, that they're going to take care of the illegals. But what does that mean? What is going to signify a good one versus a bad one? Because we've got a lot of people of our own community talking about, agreeing with what's going on right now, but when it comes down to it, they're not going to be distinguishing between you and me being that much different. They're going to see us as one unit, whether you are, Mexican, Venezuelan, Colombian, we're all the same to them. And once more people start to recognize that this isn't about good versus bad, this is a conversation about human decency. This is a conversation about morality. All right. At what point is our humanity being stripped, and at what point are we willing to say, no, you can't do this? This is no longer about red versus blue. This is simple basic human decency, and we are seeing what is being caused due to ignorance, due to bigotry, due to hatred, all based on what someone's version of good versus bad is. Because if that is the case, if we're truly going towards criminals, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. You've got a lot of very non-criminal, non-violent offenders, non anything in these spaces. All right. And people want to be ignorant towards that fact because of what they're hearing, what they're repeating. It's a cycle of repetition that people are going through because they're not aware of the process. They're not aware that this takes years, sometimes decades, to try to get your citizenship. It's not something as simple as like you apply for it and then you get it. No,
Right.
we've all been to the DMV. We all understand how government systems take time. They take long times. All right. I have family members that it's taken them over 10 years to gain citizenship. All right. And in that time, they've been in the United States. They've been outstanding members of society, but somehow we want to argue about semantics on land that is not our own. I find it very interesting that here we are as a society, pointing fingers at each other when this wasn't even ours to begin with. So this big conversation that people want to play about, we are taking care of the criminals, this and that. Mexico is not the only border that we have attachment to, and the borders are not the only way that you can cross into this country. So there's bigger concerns going on than what is happening. I don't believe in borders, especially not on stolen land. So for people to make this rhetoric about crimes, if you get into the underbelly of it, I can assure you that people aren't as concerned with the criminals than they're making it out to be.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And then I was talking to a previous guest, Alejandro Jimenez, a phenomenal poet.
Mhm.
And I told him, when you talk about the oldest language in America is Spanish.
Mhm.
That supersedes English.
Yes.
So when you hear that rhetoric, when you hear people say when you hear you need to speak English, like, dude, no, you know they've been here before your ancestors were here,
Yeah, if we want
and
to,
they look
you
at
know,
me like,
yeah, like if you want to play that game, you can check the history books, as much as they want to erase the history, especially myself as an educator, you can try to erase it all you want. But once upon a time, all these states, they were Mexico and they were Mexico territories, you know. And when people try to downplay someone that's speaking Spanish, a lot of the times my own mother has heard this conversation of, oh, well, you're speaking Spanish. Oh, well, my mother's bilingual. All right, she is smart in two languages, which is what more people can say. It's more than what most people can say. So when people are having that, the racist rhetoric of like, this is America, speak English. mm, I don't think it's I don't think it's giving what they think it's giving. Quite frankly, besides just ignorance and bigotry.
no, definitely, definitely, but also like talk about like a scenario when you watched like the great work that Jeanette did for an individual, not for yourself, but like you being a part of watching her just at working her magic to help an individual.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like in the times that I worked with Jeanette, I saw her help many people. It wasn't any specific person. She's been doing this for anyone that's come to her, just like I came to her. She has helped every single person that have walked through those church doors that has come to her and sought safety. All right. To be more specific, a couple years ago, actually, there was this gentleman. I feel very bad because I cannot remember his name, but he was being held in ICE's detention center here in Aurora, Colorado. And while he was detained there, he was murdered. He was killed because he had a heart attack. He had some kind of medical emergency. And if you know anything about the Aurora Detention Center, is that they have medical aid not too far from where that detention center is held, and they refused to give him any medical care until well after it was okay to do so. And because of that, he died in their custody. And what did Jennette do? She immediately rallied and championed, and she started being his family, just like she was my own family. She started to advocate for him and was able to get notoriety and get his story out there because his family in his home country found out about his death on the news because of Jennette. Because had she not said anything, he would have just been another number lost to the system. And his death would have gone without any kind of impact. But because of her just using her voice, leaving Sanctuary at that, and going out and putting herself out there, we held a memorial outside of the detention center because that's where he died. There was lots of blood on their hands, and she was able to really focus in and help his family find out that he's no longer with us. And that was one of the most impactful stories that I had been around. Having someone die in their hands, in their care, and her stepping in and being able to at least get the news to cover his story, so at least like his family has that little bit of peace, knowing that he is no longer with us, but at least they even know. And that to me was probably the most impactful story out of all the instances where I've seen her help people, her sticking her neck out, her putting money out there. That was the one that really like rung true and high in my ears.
And what I think was crazy is that like she's doing all this knowing that ISIS was like trailing her at the
Hmm.
same time. That shows a remarkable human being, a sacrifice that a person is willing to go out there and help people knowing that she could be detained by ICE anytime. But she didn't
Hmm.
care because she was for the people.
Hmm.
And there's not a lot of people out there right now that's willing to do that because we live in a world where everyone's like, and I understand they worry about themselves, they worry about their family. It's rare that you see an individual that's willing to sacrifice all just for the common good for the community.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's what's most inspiring about her because, like you said, it's not many people are going to do that. Not many people are going to put their own safety in their own world up for somebody else. How many people can you truly say are willing to give up their entire identity, their entire life for someone else? That is a level of selflessness that I don't think I've ever witnessed in my 31 years of life. you know so to be able to have the privilege to know her, to call Jennette a friend, is something truly magical that more people need to recognize. When we talk about these inspirational leaders, this is who we're talking about. When we talk about the pivotal members throughout history, Jennette is one of those people because she acts with such a selfless energy and selfless spirit. More of us need to take inspiration from what she's doing, and especially now.
And I agree with you. And I definitely think she definitely should be in the history books as one of those selfless leaders of our time. Because we don't have too many that we can think of in our time right now. And if I ever have kids, I'm gonna tell, my kids the story of Jennette because the world needs to know her story. I'm praying that everything works out and she can come home to see her babies and just go back to the community and be with the community because I know it's just it's not it's just a missing, like, how it's just a missing hole in that community without her.
No, absolutely. I think since the news broke, everyone's been scrambling to try to figure out, like, what do we do? She's like everyone's mother. What do you do if mom's not there? You kind of start to freak out. You start to panic because she was the rock, the glue that was holding us all together. And to now like reflect, to see the community just reaching out, both in a local and a national capacity, it's a very beautiful thing. And I know for a fact that she would be very, very proud to know that people are championing for her, and that on above that her message is still being heard. And unfortunately, she is a casualty to this, but because of that, she's able to get that much more eyes on what's going on to the immigrants that are being directly impacted by this administration.
Definitely. And I think personally, I think she prepared you guys for this because I think, like, listening to her interviews and hearing her story, is that she prepared for this.
Mhm.
Like, she knew this was going to happen eventually.
Mhm.
And so it's up to the community to just take the lead.
Mhm.
She did her part. She did what she could do. Now it's up to everyone else to take that mantle. But talk about the GoFundMe because I know the community created a GoFundMe. Talk about the GoFundMe,
Yeah,
which I
and
will have the link in the description below.
yeah, so the GoFundMe was actually created by her daughter, Tanya. The GoFundMe started out with a goal of $15,000, and we have exceeded it and are now at $60,000.
Wow.
It's a it's a beautiful thing. I believe the last time I checked, it's at 60. I've been frequently checking. There's over like 1,000 donors. People are doing whatever they can to contribute to that. And I know as of yesterday, her daughter had posted an update regarding her mother's status. She is doing good, from so far from what she's heard. They're treating her well in there. But on top of that, she's also able to hear directly from those that are being impacted, that are being held in ICE right now, in Aurora's ICE detention center. She is hearing about the the atrocities that are going on within those walls. There are pregnant women that are currently being held there. There are people that actually just escaped yesterday. It was actually on Univision. It was being reported that there was a malfunction within the detention center, and there were some folks that were able to get out. And Jennette is in there. She is listening to these people. She's listening to people that are trapped in these cages they're being held. If you've ever gone to the detention center, then you will see it firsthand. You can see people's bodies. You can hear them pounding on the windows. And it's something incredible to like witness. It's a incredible depravity to see. It's beyond our comprehension. The first time that I ever like went to a protest there, that was definitely something that like stuck out to me. So all these all the work that people are doing on the outside is incredibly impactful, because the amount of funds that she's been able to get, she's going to be able to pay all of her lawyers fees. She's going to be able to at least get some help while she's in there during her detainment. And $60,000, as incredible as that is, we know how the legal system works. We know that it's going to take a lot more than that to ensure her safe return to us.
Definitely. And I think when it comes to Trump, he doesn't like bad PR. So
Mhm.
God forbid something happened to her,
Mhm.
it's going to look bad on him. So you never know with this guy, because one day he's saying some erratic shit one day, and then other day he's normal. So we get a mixed bag of him. But
Yeah. Absolutely. It's every day it's something new. It's to the point where it's like I'm so desensitized to the news,
yeah,
that it's like, okay, well, what happened today? I'm an educator, so I'm like, all right, am I losing my job today? Are we not getting funded? I work for a lot of nonprofit organizations outside of my time with Jennette, and we're all freaking out. We all don't know what to do, a daily basis now. It's okay, well, what happened? What is he spouting off now? It's every day is a scary moment to just wake up. And it's a lot of us are dreading that. A lot of us are dreading waking up to like what is the downfall coming down to today.
yeah. But I think the beauty about community is that we got each other's back.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't have that. And
Hmm.
so knowing that we have that, we have something to fall back on.
Hmm.
So in this time of uncertainty, that's when I think it's important that people need to know their neighbors. If
Yes.
it's someone you haven't talked to that lives right next to you, talk to them.
Hmm.
Have that conversation with them. Build those relationships, which Jennette did. Is I know she's doing right now, even though she's detained right now. She's building community in those cages.
Absolutely. No, again, Jeanette builds community wherever she goes. And you have a solid point there. I think people have been wanting community for a very long time. And I think this, all what we're going through right now has only exacerbated it that much more, where people need to start having these conversations even when they do get uncomfortable, because that's what's going to unite us at the end of the day. Again, Jeanette has always taught me to lead with peace and to lead with passion, and the only way that we can do that is with each other. There is a power in the fragility that we are all feeling right now. There is a power in being able to talk to your neighbor. There is a power in being able to seek out community. Like right now, we are able to build that. It's an unexpected connection, but because of Jennette, even without her being physically here, she's still doing it. And that's what we need to lead with. We need to lead with helping each other, with being each other's helpers, because it's clear that the powers that we've relied on before, they're no longer speaking for us. So we need to speak for each other, and we need to have these conversations, and we need to be checking on each other's mental health and just seeing like, are you doing okay? And being honest with like, no, I'm not doing okay. And being able to just tell a friend, tell a neighbor, hey, are you doing okay? How are you holding up with all of this? Every day I'm checking in on my friends, on my relatives, on my peers of like be honest with me. What are you experiencing? I think that's where the narrative starts, is with pure honesty and pure like vulnerability with each other.
No, I'm 100% with that. I totally agree with that. And I want to end it with that because I think we started with community and we're going to end with community because this platform, whenever you want to come on, is there for you. Whenever you want to come on and you want to share more of your story or keep me an update on what with the situation with Jennette, it is here. Or any people that's in your community, they're welcome to come on and share their story because that's what I think that's the most important thing is building that relationship. I hit you up on a DM. You're like, all right, I'm cool. I'm cool. Your video hit my heart, and I'm like, let me contact you because sometimes people, they'll feel shy or uncomfortable or won't respond, and you responded, so that means the world to me. And you're like, yeah, I'm down for it. I'm gonna do it, and we made it happen. And you're here, and you share Jennette's story, and hopefully people who watch this episode will see the humanity in her instead of looking at her as a undocumented person or a legal immigrant because I don't like that terminology. Just
Mhm.
look at her as a human being. See the work that she's done in the community and how she impacted so many people's lives. Being a mother of 4 children, but also helping being the mother of the entire community, that
Mhm.
says a lot. Not a lot of people have that in them to do that, and she has. And from the conversation we have, broke that down to me to show how significant she is in that community, in the world community, because the world is watching.
Mhm.
The world is watching what's going on. And I'm just hoping, I'm praying that she comes home because she needs to be home with her kids, but she needs to be with her community, which is her family. Yanessa, thank you for coming on. How can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me. Again, this has been incredibly impactful, and I hope to keep you updated with Jennette and her story. And I hope that all of your viewers are saying her name, or donating to the GoFundMe, and just being aware of her story and of her journey. And hopefully we can get her back home to us here in the community. And if anyone wants to seek out any further information, they can follow me on TikTok, Sin de la Morte, or on my Instagram, Sin del Morte as well.
And then also celebrate, also not celebrate, but also support her artwork. She does amazing artwork. So
Mhm.
I just want to put that out there in the space right there. So that's one way you can support is by doing that. But this has been another amazing conversation here on the podcast. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We're out. Peace. Stay on for 1 second. Let me in the recording.